My son sent me on a luxury island trip, but the moment I arrived, I realized something was very wrong. At first, I thought it was a gift, a generous one, a second chance to breathe. Because at my age, people don't expect surprises anymore, especially not good ones. My name is Henry Carter. I'm 67 years old. And a week ago, my son gave me what I thought was the perfect escape. Dad, you've done enough, he told me. You deserve a break. Those words meant more than the trip itself, because lately, things between us had been distant. Not broken, just cold. So when he handed me the ticket, luxury island resort, all expenses paid, I didn't question it. Maybe that was my first mistake. The flight was smooth, first class, comfortable. Everything felt expensive. And that should have been my second warning, because my son was never that generous. Still, I ignored the thought, because I wanted to believe something simple, that he cared. When I landed, a private boat was waiting, not a shuttle, not a taxi, a private boat. The driver didn't talk much, just nodded, took my bag, and we left the mainland behind. The city slowly disappeared. Buildings, noise, people, all fading into the distance. And in front of me, nothing but water, endless. That's when the first strange feeling hit, because I checked my phone. No signal. At first, I thought it was normal. Remote location. Island resort, but something about it didn't feel right. How long is the trip? I asked the driver. He didn't answer, just kept driving. That silence was louder than anything. After about an hour, the island appeared. Beautiful, almost unreal. White sand, crystal water, the kind of place people dream about. But as we got closer, I noticed something. There were no other boats, no tourists, no noise, just silence. The boat stopped at a private dock. A man in a suit was waiting, not a resort staff uniform, a suit. That was my third warning. Welcome, Mr. Carter, he said. Too formal, too prepared. Thank you, I replied slowly. He took my bag. This way, sir. I followed him. The path was clean, perfect. Too perfect. We passed villas, luxury, modern, but empty. Every single one. Where is everyone? I asked. He didn't answer immediately, then said, You'll have the island to yourself. That should have felt amazing, but it didn't. It felt wrong. We reached a large villa, ocean view, private pool, everything anyone could want. This is yours, he said. I stepped inside. Beautiful, perfect. But something was missing. Life. Dinner will be prepared at 7, he added. Then turned to leave. Wait, I said. He stopped. When is my return? I asked. He turned, slowly, looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something in his eyes. Not hospitality, not kindness, something else, something cold. Then he said, There is no return scheduled, sir. Silence, because that sentence didn't belong in a vacation. What do you mean? I asked. He didn't smile. Your stay here is indefinite. My heart dropped, because suddenly everything made sense. The private boat, the empty island, the silence. This wasn't a vacation. It was isolation. And the worst part? The person who sent me here was my own son. I stepped back slowly, because now there was only one question left. Why would my son send me somewhere I was never meant to leave? For a moment, I didn't speak. I just stood there, looking at him, because what he said didn't make sense. No return scheduled. That's not how vacations work. That's how traps do. I think there's been a mistake, I said, trying to stay calm. He shook his head, slowly. There's no mistake, Mr. Carter. That tone was final. My chest tightened. Who arranged this? I asked. even though I already knew. Your son? He replied. Of course. But hearing it out loud made it real. And he didn't mention anything about a return? I asked. The man paused, then said something carefully. He gave very specific instructions. Instructions. That word changed everything. What kind of instructions? I asked. But he didn't answer. Instead, he stepped closer, lowered his voice. You're meant to stay here comfortably, he said. Comfortably. That word felt like an insult. Against my will? I replied. He didn't react. Everything here is prepared for you, he continued. Food, security, privacy. Security. That word stood out. For my safety? I asked. A small pause. Then, for containment. That was it. That was the moment everything became clear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was planned. I looked around the villa again. The doors, the windows. Beautiful, but controlled. I walked to the glass door, tried to open it. It didn't move. Locked. Sir, the man said calmly, please don't make this difficult. I turned slowly. Difficult? I repeated. You brought me to an island I can't leave. And you're asking me not to make it difficult? He didn't answer, because he didn't need to. Everything was already decided. Why? I asked. This time, my voice was different. Not confused, serious. He hesitated, then finally said, you were becoming a problem. Silence. Because that sentence didn't come from him. That came from my son. What kind of problem? I asked. He looked at me carefully. Financial, he said. My heart skipped. Because now we were getting close to the truth. You refused to sign, he added. That hit me instantly. Because I remembered the papers. A few weeks ago, just a formality, Dad, my son had said. Property transfer, ownership rights, something about restructuring assets. I didn't like it, didn't trust it. So I said no. And now I was here. He needed control, the man continued. And you were in the way. That was it. That was the truth. My own son didn't send me on vacation. He removed me. Clean, quiet, no drama, no witnesses. Just gone. My hands clenched slightly. Because now, this wasn't confusion anymore. This was betrayal. Real betrayal. So, what happens now? I asked. The man looked at me. You live here, he said simply. A comfortable life. A pause. Out of the way. Out of the way. Like I was an inconvenience. Like I didn't matter. I laughed softly. Not because it was funny, but because it was unreal. Does he think I'll just accept this? I asked. The man didn't answer. Because again, he didn't need to. Everything here was designed for one thing. To make sure I had no choice. Or at least, that's what they thought. I walked deeper into the villa. Not looking at him. Because my mind was already moving. Thinking. Planning. Because there's one thing people forget about men like me. We didn't survive this long. By giving up, I stopped near the window, looked out at the ocean. Endless, but not impossible. Because every system has a weakness. Every plan has a flaw. And if my son thought he could erase me this easily, then he didn't know me at all. Dinner will be ready at 7, the man said again. Like nothing had happened. Like this was normal. I didn't turn, didn't respond. I just kept looking at the horizon. Because now, this wasn't about escaping. This was about something bigger. If I got off this island, I wouldn't just come back. I would take everything back. And make sure he never forgot what he did. The door closed behind me. And just like that, I was alone, trapped on a paradise. That was never meant to let me leave. But what they didn't realize yet was that I had already made a decision. I wasn't going to stay here, no matter what it took. That night, I didn't eat. Not because I wasn't hungry, but because I didn't trust anything. The food was perfect. Too perfect. Placed neatly on the table. Still warm, like a five-star restaurant. But something about it felt wrong, because I never saw anyone cook it, never saw anyone bring it. It just appeared. That's when I realized something. I wasn't just being watched. I was being controlled. I walked around the villa, carefully, slowly, checking everything. Doors, windows, walls, looking for something, anything. And then I found it. A camera, small, hidden in the corner, almost invisible, but not to me. I stared at it for a second, then smiled slightly, because now I knew something important. They were watching me, but that meant one thing. They were afraid of what I might do. I turned away, acted normal, because if they were watching, then I needed them to believe something, that I had accepted this, that I wasn't a threat, that I was just an old man, enjoying a luxury prison. So I sat down, pretended to eat, pretended to relax, pretended to give up, and that was the moment everything started changing. Because the next morning, something unexpected happened. I woke up early, before sunrise, quiet, still, and for the first time, I noticed something different. A sound, faint, distant, not the ocean, not the wind, something else. Human. I stood up immediately, walked toward the window, looked out. At first, nothing, just the same empty island. But then, movement, far away, near the trees, a shadow. I narrowed my eyes, focused, and there it was, a person, walking quickly, trying not to be seen. My heart started beating faster, because that changed everything. I wasn't alone, which meant this island wasn't just for me. I grabbed my shoes, moved quietly, because now I had a chance, not to escape yet, but to understand. I stepped outside. The air was cool, fresh, but the silence? Still unnatural. I walked toward the trees, careful, every step slow, because I didn't know who that person was, or if they were like me, trapped, or something worse. I reached the edge of the trees, stopped, listened, nothing. Then suddenly, a voice. Stop right there. I froze, turned slowly, and saw him. A man, older, rough, not like the staff, not clean, not controlled, real. Who are you? I asked. He looked at me carefully, then said something that changed everything. You're new. Not a question, a fact. What do you mean? I asked. He stepped closer. You came on the boat yesterday, he said. My chest tightened. You saw that? I asked. He nodded. I see everything, he said. A pause. Because I've been here longer than you. Silence. Because now, this wasn't just my situation. This had happened before. How long? I asked. He looked away for a second, then back at me. Long enough to know one thing, he said. A pause. No one leaves. Those words hit hard, because that confirmed it. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't a mistake. This was permanent. Why are we here? I asked. He laughed softly. Same kind of laugh I had last night. The kind that comes when the truth is too dark. Same reason as you, he said. A problem someone didn't want to deal with. I felt my jaw tighten. Family? I asked. He nodded slowly. Son, he said. Of course. Same story. Different man. Same betrayal. How many? I asked. He looked at me, then pointed toward the trees. More than you think. My heart dropped, because that meant this island wasn't a resort. It was a dumping ground for people like us, people who got in the way, people who were easier to remove than to deal with. I looked back toward the villa, the luxury, the comfort, all fake, a cover to hide something ugly. They watch everything, the man said. They control everything. A pause. But they made one mistake. I looked at him. What? I asked. He smiled slightly. They put us all in one place. That hit me instantly. Because now, this wasn't just about escaping alone. This was about something bigger. Together, we had a chance. Not just to leave, but to expose everything. I took a deep breath. Because now, the game had changed. This wasn't survival anymore. This was war. And for the first time since I arrived, I wasn't alone. Because what my son didn't realize was that he didn't just send me away. He sent me to the one place where I could fight back. For the first time since I arrived on that island, I felt something different. Not fear. Not confusion. Purpose. I looked at the man in front of me. Tired eyes. Rough hands. But strong. How many of us are there? I asked. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked around, careful, then said quietly, 7, 7, 7 people, thrown away like they didn't matter, by their own families. That number stayed in my head, because it meant one thing. We weren't weak. We were inconvenient. And they're all like us? I asked. He nodded. Parents, partners, one brother. A pause. All replaced in some way. Replaced. That word again. Different story. Same pattern. Where are they? I asked. He pointed deeper into the trees. They don't stay in the villas anymore, he said. Why? I asked. Too many cameras, he replied. Of course. The villas weren't for comfort. They were for control. We stay off their system, he added. That told me something important. There was a system, and every system can be broken. Show me, I said. He studied me for a second, like he was deciding something, then nodded. Follow me. We moved through the trees, careful, silent. The deeper we went, the more the island changed. Less perfect, less controlled, more real. And then I saw them, a small group, hidden between trees, watching us. Not scared, not weak, survivors. This is him? One of them asked. The man nodded. New one, he said. I stepped forward slightly. My name is Henry, I said. They didn't respond immediately, because trust doesn't come easy here. Another one thrown away, someone muttered. I didn't react, because they weren't wrong, but I wasn't here to stay that way. We don't have time, I said. That got their attention. Time for what? A woman asked. I looked at all of them. Time to get off this island. Silence. Then they laughed. Not because it was funny, but because they'd heard it before. Everyone says that at first, the older man said. Then they realized the truth. I stepped closer. And what truth is that? I asked. He looked me straight in the eyes. That there is no way out. I shook my head slowly. No, I said. There's always a way. A pause. You just stopped looking. That hit them. Because deep down, they knew it too. We've tried, the woman said. Boats, signals, everything. And? I asked. Nothing works, she replied. I nodded slowly. Because that told me something important. They were trying the wrong way. You're thinking like prisoners, I said. That made them react. What does that mean? Someone asked. It means you're trying to escape, I replied. A pause. I'm not. Silence. Because that changed everything. Then what are you doing? The man asked. I looked toward the villas, toward the cameras, toward the system. I'm going to break it, I said. That line changed the room. Because now, this wasn't about running. This was about control. They rely on structure, I continued. Power, systems, patterns. A pause. If we disrupt that, they lose control. They were listening now. Really listening. What's your plan? The woman asked. I took a breath. Because this part was risky. Tonight, I said, we go back to the villas. Immediate reaction. No, someone said. That's suicide. I shook my head. No, I replied. That's where their system is strongest. A pause. and where it's most vulnerable. They looked at each other, uncertain, because this wasn't safe. But neither was staying here forever. They think we're broken, I continued. That we've accepted this. A pause. Let's prove them wrong. Silence. Heavy. Because this was the moment. The decision. Stay and slowly disappear. Or fight and risk everything. The woman stepped forward. I'm in, she said. One by one, the others followed. Not because they believed in the plan, but because they were tired of being forgotten. I nodded slowly. Because now, we weren't victims anymore. We were a problem. And this time, we were going to be impossible to ignore. I looked back toward the villas one last time, because tonight, everything would change. And what my son didn't realize was that sending me here was the biggest mistake he ever made. Because he didn't just isolate me. He gave me a reason to fight back. That night, 1, 2, everything changed. Not slowly, not quietly, but all at once. We moved as one. 7 people who were never meant to stand together. Back toward the villas. Back into the system. The same place that tried to erase us. But this time, we weren't walking in as prisoners. We were walking in as a problem. The lights were still on. Everything looked perfect, just like before. But now I knew the truth. Behind that perfection was control, and control can break. Stay low, I whispered. Everyone nodded. We moved carefully, avoiding open areas, watching the cameras, because now I understood how they saw us. Patterns, movement. So we became unpredictable. We split into 2 groups, not because it was safe, but because it was necessary. I moved toward my villa, the same place they thought would hold me. I stepped inside. Nothing had changed. Same table, same food, same illusion. But now, I saw everything differently. I went straight to the corner, to the camera I found before, and this time, I didn't pretend. I reached up and ripped it out. Sparks. Silence. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then, the system reacted. Lights flickered. A low alarm started. Not loud, but controlled. Like something waking up. They know, someone whispered through the comm device we found earlier. Good. That's exactly what I wanted. Because now, they had to respond. And response means exposure. Phase 2, I said quietly. The others moved, cutting power lines, disabling cameras, breaking the system piece by piece. And for the first time, the island wasn't perfect anymore. It was breaking. Suddenly, footsteps. Fast. Security. They're coming, the woman said. I stepped outside, faced them, because running now would mean nothing. 3 guards approached. Professional, trained, but not ready for this. Stop, one of them shouted. I didn't move, because this wasn't fear anymore. This was truth. You shouldn't be here,